lot of people are talking about Tim Tyler, and I can't blame him. It's a great story. He's um, terrible what happened at the hands of draconian drug laws written by Get Tough Ronald Reagan. Whenever I talk about how the Democrats and the Republicans are both letting us down on marijuana, and you know what I always forget to mention is Republicans and how they've always been the ones that are the reason why marijuana is as illegal as it is today. We can go back to the very beginning with Harry Anslinger, and we can go all the way through decade by decade by decade by decade. Oh wait, we don't have to, because guess what? Woody Harrelson already did. And if you've never seen it, it's a documentary called Grass. It's awesome. It's the whole story about how come marijuana is illegal, basically. It'll blow your mind if you don't know, and it'll probably piss you off. And you'll probably be like, well, then why don't we just be like, hey, this shit should be legal now, because we know that all this shit's dumb and lies and propaganda bullshit. So anyway, that's a great story. You know, tides are turning. 11,000 people, though, have petitions in for clemency, and they're just sitting there collecting dust. So let me give you another one. And I feel like I can't do the LSD guy without doing the crack guy, because you want to talk about sentencing guidelines that are just ridiculous. All right? LSD, when I was growing up and we were running around town with sheets of acid in our pockets, we heard the rumor was you could get 5 or 10 years per hit or some crazy, I don't know. No one ever got caught with it, so who knows? And when someone did get caught with it, you never heard about that person again. This is how it went. Alright, so in 1988, a small-time drug dealer became the first man charged under a new harsh drug law signed by then-President Ronald Reagan. 30 years later, Barack Obama granted a sentence commutation to Richard Van Winrow, a literal poster boy for the history of America's drug war. Alright, this is Jessica Lassenop from the BBC. I wouldn't call that a poster boy for the history of the drug war. I'd just say that he is the disgusting conclusion of running out of control right-wing drug policies. And, oh my God, terrible laws. When he was 22 years old, Winrow was arrested at his mother's home in Los Angeles, California, with 151.9 grams of crack cocaine, a scale, a gun, and $3,200 cash. It was not his first bust. He had been arrested 3 times over a course of 3 months with tiny amounts of the same drug, and admitted he was a dealer. He was no kingpin, though. He was just a small-time, probably barely paying his bills dealer. Winrow was sentenced to life in prison under a brand new law. He was the first person in the U.S. to be charged under the Anti-Drug Abuse Law of 1988, one of the cornerstones of Reagan's war on drugs, quote-unquote. Quote, the poor schmuck just happened to be unlucky that he is the first one, unquote. Assistant U.S. Attorney U.S. Attorney John Gordon told reporters at the time. It's kind of disrespect they have for people. They're just like, well, you know, first guy, we got to make an example out of him. Sorry about him. All right, this would be about a week ago, 28 years later, he just found out he's going home. Like a story I did earlier, he might have to wait a couple years. Just getting these clemencies don't mean you're going anywhere right away. And I don't get that. Alright, so he's one of 111 inmates who were granted clemency by President Obama this week. A total of 673 inmates have been approved for clemency by the administration so far. So back in the day, President Reagan passed a new federal laws that doled out harsh mandatory sentences for possession or distribution of even small amounts of crack. In 1988, just months before Winrow was arrested, Reagan signed into law an addendum that made it possible to sentence men and women who were on their third crack possession charge to life behind bars without the possibility of parole. Let me slow down and rewind that one. What the fuck did he just say? Did he just say that if you got caught possessing crack 3 times, life behind bars? That is what he said. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life, as far as American law goes. You can rob a bank 3 times and maybe do 20 years with a gun or a bomb. Get caught with crack 3 times, you can get life. What? Man, that's the dumbest. That's crazy. Okay, so Los Angeles police believe that such a punitive sentencing strategy would deter young dealers or inspire them, if caught, to turn over their more powerful bosses. Such a great business plan, man. It's terrible. You get people to tell on each other, and you get distrust in the community. It's like throwing a big bomb right in the middle of a perfectly running machine. Alright, so all this ended in 2010 with the Fair Sentencing Act signed by President Obama, which dismantled the mandatory 5-year minimum for simple crack possession that Reagan championed and dramatically reduced the sentencing disparity between crack cocaine possession and powder cocaine convictions. Yeah, I remember that one too. It reduced the sentencing disparity. Crack and cocaine are the same thing. In fact, I would argue you probably, I don't know, never mind. Terrible situation that they have here in America with just being able to lock you up forever. So this guy, we'll say 28 years, this guy's been in prison. After being in prison for 28 years for just small amounts of crack, I don't know, that was kind of a lot, but not really. 150 grams, it wasn't even a pound of crack. Unbelievable, man. I don't even know what to say. I'm glad this guy's getting out. I'm glad we're talking about him. I'm glad I'm talking about him. I didn't even know about this until I just kind of stumbled upon it. But more people need to talk about it, and more needs to be done about this disparity between crack and regular cocaine. More things need to be done about this disgusting war on drugs in America. It's unraveling the very fabric of freedom in this country. It has been for 40 years. $2 trillion wasted, and countless lives wasted like this guy's. Don't know his age, but he was 22 when he got nailed, so same kind of thing as my friend over here, Tim Tyler. So the best years of his life, his 20s and 30s, spent behind bars for just making some bad decisions. He knew what he was up against. He didn't know about these extra crazy sentencing guidelines that just happened right as he got caught. So, it doesn't matter when you're operating illegal. You can someday you're going to face the piper. Everyone knows you can always look at getting a life sentence for 3 felonies. It's just sad, man. So, Richard Van Winrow, see you when you get out, buddy. And once again, Obama is on the right track with this, but there's still somewhere over 10,000 people that are waiting to see what their clemency report is. Let's give them some good news too.